big news, and it's a lot of people have been wanting to talk about it. The headline, guys, is TAAT appoints former Altria and Philip Morris international leader Michael Saxon as CEO. So, what do you think about the news?
Well, I'm excited about it. I have had 2 great years of working with Setti, and I learned a lot from him. And he was, very, very instrumental in getting us launched. And if you remember Setti's background, he came from Philip Morris in the new product introduction space. So he was really pivotal with Philip Morris in introducing the IQOS device, the heat not burn device that they launched. And his skill set was ideal for the past 2 years, where we really needed somebody who, knew about a novel instrument, where to put it into the market, how to get it in front of people. But we've evolved from there. And where it's really exciting with Michael is that, Michael was a more senior guy than Setti in the smokable space, and with both Altria and with Philip Morris before that. And not only that, but Michael also brings the knowledge of logistics, how to get this product from the point where people are familiar with it in certain markets, but how do we get it now global? How do we set up the sales organization? How do we set up the distribution chain? How do we work with the major distributors that we're starting to get interest from, the convenience stores and so on, that are now reaching out to us? And that's really, Michael Saxon's expertise and his capability. He's done all that before. And, there was some speculation, I think, recently when Setti started to maybe back away a little bit. It wasn't intentional. Really, what we were doing is we just had Setti working on the transition plan. It was Setti that came to me and said, look, I think the business and the company is ready for that next step, and we really need somebody with these kind of capabilities. And so Setti worked right beside me in terms of recruiting Michael. He was the first one to call Michael, and of course Michael at the time was on our advisory board, and we were getting some really good advice out of him. So Setti's first thought was, well, this guy has all the capabilities. If there was ever a way we could attract him into being involved in the company, and we thought it was a long shot. We reached out, and I think, and I'll let Michael speak for himself. I'm sure he'll be on your program soon, but he was just taken by the product. He could see the opportunity. He felt that there were a whole bunch of different things that we could be doing and need to do in order to take the business and the product to the next level. And you can see some of the stuff that we've done with Adco is kind of the first phase of that. We're really excited. This is the guy that I believe is going to be the person to take this company over the next 5 years and get us to where we're established, not just as a 1 or 2 or 3 product company, but where we're really a company with a whole range of products in the non-traditional space, distributing into not only our own internal distribution organization, which we started to build with Adco, but also into a much broader distribution network that we're setting up of companies that specialize in the non-traditional space. So we think we've got exactly the right guy. Setti is still going to be involved. Basically, we're seeing an exchange of roles. Setti is going to be an advisor to the company, just as Michael has been for the past 2 years. And Michael's going to take the hands-on role. In fact, as we speak today, he's out in Las Vegas, meeting with the team in Las Vegas. And the other big advantage that it gives us, quite frankly, Rich, is that we had a logistical issue just in terms of where Setti was located out in Toronto, versus somebody that can openly work and travel within the U.S. And it really limited us through COVID in terms of Setti being able to travel and get out and see the distributors. Michael's located in Richmond, Virginia, right in the back door of where a lot of the tobacco companies are. He's a short trip up to Ohio to meet with the Adco folks, and then it's also there's direct flights out to Las Vegas. So he's planning to split his time between Richmond, Ohio, and Las Vegas, which is terrific. We'll have a lot more hands-on management through Michael's involvement. as I say, he'll be once he gets fully up to speed with the personnel and so on, he'll be on your program and give your audience a chance to reach out and connect with him directly.
Oh, that's great. It's great to see that Setti's still going to be working very closely with the company as an advisor. I know that I've had a lot of people asking me about Setti over the last little while. There's a lot of love for Setti. I think the shareholders really are a huge fan of Setti. But I agree, like everybody has a different set of skills. And if this is what the company needs to take it to the next level, then, I think it's going to be great to see what Michael can do. And, we can talk a little bit about the market conditions because like you mentioned, supply chain issues, and I've noticed it with a lot of different companies, supply chain issues are causing a bottleneck everywhere with like, even with travel, like how you mentioned with travel and how Setti couldn't travel. So if you have someone that now with Michael that's in the US that's able to go all over the United States, get on a plane and not have to deal with cross-border, this, that, and now, there's all kinds of rules with having to quarantine if you don't have 3 shots. So there's all this now people are talking about in Canada. So that's going to create potential delays. So there's all these different things. So now you have someone in America. He can really focus on the American market. He doesn't have to worry about getting on a plane and flying all over America as a Canadian. I can imagine, because every time I talked to Setti, I could tell he was doing a lot of traveling, like a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think one of the things in a leader is the ability to know when it's time to hire somebody to replace yourself. And I give Setti full credit for having that awareness to say, look, we need somebody who has, put in place organized structure, somebody who knows how to put in place broad sales teams and distribution networks and so on. That's not his specialty. His specialty was product launch, and that's what he's done a fabulous job. And like your audience, I love the vignettes he's done for us. He's a phenomenal spokesman and pitchman for the product, and I'm going to call on him to do that and hope that we get him back to do a couple of spots as time goes on here, because he's so effective at doing that. But I think you'll find that Michael's also an excellent communicator. Different style, very different style, very numbers driven, and I think I think your audience will also find that a very compelling interview when he gets out and starts to speak and shares his vision as to where the company is going and where it's headed.
Yeah, I'm very excited to speak with him, and it's always good when you have another person that can just come in and has that experience with the big names, the Altrias and the Philip Morrises. Just to see what, they can do and what they can bring to the table. So I'm very excited to see what Michael is going to be able to do moving forward with TAAT Global Alternatives. I also have a question about Adco. Can you give us an update on what's happening with Adco?
Yeah, so last week, Michael and I were down at Adco, just spending time with the Adco management, really getting an understanding of their full capabilities, which I think we had underestimated. I think that what they're capable of doing and helping us to do with TAAT is significantly greater than what we originally thought. In fact, they're reaching out to us with ideas and relationships that they want to introduce and to help us to really optimize the product. I mean, it's been a learning experience. I think sometimes as investors, myself being an investor in lots of early stage companies, you get impatient. You invest in something and you want it to go from $100 in sales the first month to $1 million in sales the second month to $100 million the third month. And it doesn't work that way. It's kind of a process of, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You've got to learn what the customer's looking for, what the packaging needs to look like, what the distribution needs to look like, who are the right distributors, who's the target audience. And we've now had 2 years to learn that. And you've seen it in terms of the iterative improvements in the product. We had, version 1, which was okay, not great, not blow your socks off, but was an indication of where we were going. And we knew we had something, but we didn't know entirely what. Version 2 got better. Version 3, I think we've hit the ball out of the park. And so what we're doing now is we're freezing the, well, we're going to continue to develop version 3, but we're not going to launch a version 4 for some time, because we've gone through the painful process of getting a lot of the product out of the market. So we had to go out to the market and get off the shelves version 1 and version 2 over the last 6 months. And that was painful. Number one, it was expensive. Number two, it was time consuming and it distracted from sales and so on. But we couldn't be selling version 3 at the same time we were selling version 1. It was just too much of a difference in terms of the experience of the product. And we wanted to make sure that every consumer that tried the product was getting our best foot forward. They were getting the best product we could put in front of them. And we felt that really if we could have them trying version 3, that they would, become committed to version 3 if they had the chance of trying it. So that was really, really important to us. Now that we've done that, what we've done is we've, shifted gears here, and we've also pivoted our strategy. We've come to recognize that we need to have more direct engagement with the marketplace, with the consumer. And that's what Adco is all about. With certain distributors, depending on the profile of their customers and their market and so on, certain things worked, certain things didn't work that we were doing. You can remember the program we had, buy one, get one free. That worked with certain distributors. It didn't work with other distributors. We couldn't figure out why it worked in some markets and didn't work in other markets, but we felt we had to learn and we had to know. So what we can do with Adco is it allows us to test try our product, test try the packaging, test try the marketing, test try the advertising. They have their own stores. They have other stores, a couple hundred stores, several hundred stores that they've got in their own network that they sell to. So it allows us to get somebody that's really committed to the product, driving the product out into their network, and then us getting all that feedback back from them and using that feedback to adjust what we're doing. So where we've kind of evolved our thinking is instead of thinking of this as a 3-product company, our original, our smooth and our menthol, what we're starting to think of this as is something that's more similar to, for better lack of a good example, a Coca-Cola or a Red Bull. And if you think of Coca-Cola started with one product, Coke. And then they evolved into Diet Coke. Then it became about 10 different Cokes. Then it became all kinds of other products, water, Gatorade, all kinds of other things. And we see that opportunity. You've seen some of the announcements we've made about other products that we have in development, other products, literally right as we're speaking, we're about to introduce into the market. And so we see this coupling of our own distribution with other distribution. Obviously, we're going to continue to work with as much outside distribution as possible. We've got already dozens of distributors that are distributing the product. But we also want to work with our own distribution so that we can directly test our products as they go into the market, find out what works and what doesn't work, and how to perfect it before we take it into the broader market. So that's really important to us, and that's what we found with Adco. Really good seasoned management that has a really good handle on where they're headed.
Well, that's great. You need that, when you're growing. Now, some of the concerns have been about generating revenue, and we're in a market environment, and that's what I've been trying to talk to people about, is you really got to look at price to earning ratios in this type of market environment. And companies that are coming down, you can see there's an average medium of about 15 times earnings. That's kind of the medium. And then some stocks, like some of the banking stocks, are trading lower than that. But there's a lot of companies like Shopify, even though it's come down from 2,200 to 400, it's still trading at like 80 times earnings. So which means it has a long way to come down. So companies that are, and those are value companies. Those are companies that are some of the biggest companies in the world. Companies that are startups, they don't have earnings. So when you're talking about PE ratios, these are companies that don't have PE ratios. They don't have earnings yet. They're early stage companies. They're startup companies. And this is a market that's really punished startup companies, early stage companies that don't have assets on the balance sheet, that don't have revenues, that don't have, cash in the bank. These have been the companies I've seen that have really been punished in this market environment, which is most small caps. What is TAAT doing to try to strengthen its balance sheet, grow its revenues, and really turn the narrative around so that we can start seeing some strong revenue growth over the next few quarters?
Well, I mean, in terms of the first step we've taken, Rich, is we've gone from a company that's in its first year of sales. The first 12 months we're getting the product right and so on. We've really only launched the product in a sizable way in the past 12 months. And with the Adco, when you talk about strengthening the balance sheet, we just bought a company that's got close to $100 million in revenue. So that gives us major tangibility. We're also that company's accretive. It brings profitability to us, to our bottom line, and it brings a lot of capabilities in terms of supporting our logistics. And that's really been our challenge in our not in our first year, in our last year, is the whole logistics side, for a lot of the reasons you just described, with respect to supply chain and the change out of the version 3 for version 1 and version 2. So there's been some learning on that, but we are seeing sales. We are seeing sales increase. We are seeing sales growth within the TAAT branded products, let's call it. And what we've been really focused on, we could have gone out, we could have driven sales in the traditional, let's call it, smoke shops and that community. That really wasn't what we were interested in doing. That is not a multi-billion-dollar market. If that's all the market is for us, meaning, hey, we're going to go compete with a bunch of other hemp products that are on the shelf, I'll move on myself. I'm not interested in that. We're interested in building, a multi-billion-dollar company in the distribution of non-traditional, predominantly smokable, but maybe even some non-smokable products. So that's where we're focused. And the growth, it takes time to get the model right, but we're doing a lot of things right now that we didn't know 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and we're starting to see the benefits. We're in discussions literally today with convenience store, C-store customers that we had no dream of being into this quickly. We're, in the last couple of weeks, we're talking to 7-Eleven, Circle K, and I'm not talking Walmart, another name. I'm not talking on a one store basis. I'm talking on a network basis. A lot of these discussions. So that's where we need to be. If this product is really going to accomplish what I think investors are hoping it is going to accomplish, I'm not interested in, let's go try and sell a few $100,000 in smoke shops. That isn't the model that we're chasing. We're chasing getting into convenience stores. It takes time. It takes work. What those convenience stores say is they say, well, bring us the data you have from some of the smaller distributors. You remember that we've announced, arrangements like with Parmar. Bring us some of the data that you're seeing with some of those smaller mid-sized distributors and show us that the reorder rate is strong and growing. And we've been able to demonstrate that now. We couldn't demonstrate that only because we didn't have the data 6 or 12 months ago when the product wasn't right, quite frankly. The product in, even 6 or 8 months ago when we were working with version 2, I'll be the first to admit, it was good, but it wasn't great. Version 3 is great. You can read the online, reviews of it. And I tell people, when they call me and they say, oh, we're worried about sales, I said, go read the online reviews. And if you don't think the product's going to sell when those are the kind of reviews we're getting from smokers, then you're just not looking at the data out there. And so we're confident that if we continue to follow this process, if we pivot and focus our sales on the C stores, that we will see the kind of revenues that everybody's expecting, and we will break in a major way into the tobacco space, and that's where we want to be. And that was the whole impetus behind the tattoos. Adco is absolutely, they couldn't be more excited about the tattoos and what the tattoos do for them in terms of lowering the bar of getting into a retailer. One of the, when you walk into a retailer, you can talk all day long about the fact that there's no nicotine, the product's smooth, it's good, and so on and so forth. But this is a person that's got 75 different cigarettes on the shelf behind them. How do you differentiate yourself? And what we've come to realize, and it's taken us 2 years to get there, but what we come to realize is that we really need to play on our biggest advantage, and our biggest advantage is price and margin to the retailer. So price, we're priced $1. We probably have to go lower. We probably need to be $2 below a tier 4 cigarette, the lowest quality cigarette that's in a tobacco store or in any retailer of tobacco, to get people's attention. That's when somebody comes in and says, give me the cheapest one you got on the shelf, and then the shop owner turns around and gives it to them. The other thing we need is that shop owner to be motivated. And what we're doing now, incorporating into our sales pitch, is to make sure that the C stores, individual retailers understand that they're going to get 3 times the margin on our product that they're going to get out of a tier 4 cigarette. So, if you have to sell 3 packs of, one company's product in order to make the same amount as us, it's a lot more compelling just to sell 1 pack. And so what we think is these tattoos are going to really lower the bar in terms of getting the product into stores, getting the product in the hands of consumers. As those consumers come back in, order more because of that convenience of that tattoo, we believe that's really going to catapult our sales over the next 6 months. We think that's going to be a massive game changer, and we're just starting to get it into stores now. In fact, Adco we were basically briefing their salespeople last week, and they're going out into the marketplace to start to get the tattoos out into the marketplace as we speak.
That's great. I have a few questions from the audience. And I'm just, for everyone that's watching, I am with Joel Dumaresq, the CFO of TAAT Global Alternatives. You guys can actually go, if you're in America, and get a free pack of TAAT at trytaat.com. Just go to trytaat.com, order your free pack. It's absolutely free. And I got a few questions here from the audience. This is from Dale. Thank you, Dale. Please ask Joel if TAAT is planning on using kratom for the new TAAT Zero. If so, would Christina Lake Cannabis produce TAAT Zero for the Canadian market and label it for aromatherapy?
Yeah, interesting question. Good question. We're looking very closely at kratom. Obviously, there's some considerations around kratom. You've got to be careful about some of the regulations, but we're seeing in a lot of the smoke shops, and one of the things naturally our sales guys do, and particularly the Adco guys, when they go into one of their customer shops, the first thing they do is they say, "What's selling? What is working? Tell us what's working and why you think it's working." And kratom continues to have tremendous sales and sales growth. And so we're highly intrigued by kratom. We have looked at some opportunities to potentially white label kratom, where we take the product off of an existing manufacturer. We do our own flavoring and so on, which we think we can dramatically improve the flavoring of kratom. A lot of people say they like the effect from kratom, but they don't particularly like the experience. The taste of it and so on is a bit of a turnoff. So we think that if we could take the effect and we could couple it with our capability, Cindy Orser in our flavoring and product development part of our business, if we could bring her expertise and Joe's expertise in to work on the flavoring and improve that flavoring, we think we could introduce a really interesting product. So number one, yes, we're looking at all kinds of different angles for kratom. As far as the connection with Christina Lake, that's not my call. That's up to them. I think we've had lots of questions about introducing TAAT into Canada. We continue to work with Christina Lake on exploring that. In fact, I've got a call this week concerning that. But we at some point in time we do expect that we'll be bringing a kratom product to market.
Great. And then another question from Dale. I had a friend of mine, more of a statement, try version 1. He didn't like it. He hated it. 2 weeks ago, I gave him a pack of TAAT 2s to try. He said he infinitely liked it better. A few days later, he called and said he invested into TAAT stocks.
Yeah. So here's I'll give you a couple of further validations of that. And rest assured, that wasn't me that sent that question in. So just in case your audience is wondering, but when we went initially and pitched the product to Adco was the first company to carry the product, as you'll recall. The owner of Adco, the principal owner, his name's Eric. Eric tried it. Said, he's a smoker, lifelong smoker. Said, yeah, okay, not bad. Not great, not bad. Better than anything else I've tried on the market. We'll try it. And they gave us a pretty substantial order, and they went to work on that order. About 3.5 months ago, when I first sat down and we started to negotiate buying Adco, I brought along some version 3 of the product, and I gave it to Eric to try. And I said, try this. And he tried it. We'd just been out for dinner. It was after dinner. He tried it, and the guy was blown away. He kept repeating it. I've seen this online with a lot of the product reviews. He kept saying 1,000 times better, 1,000 times better.
Wow.
And that's when we got the deal done. I'm not sure we would have got the deal done up until that point. We were kind of bumping heads on valuation and a whole bunch of other things. When he tried the product, it was okay. Tell me what the deal is. Let's get the deal done. He knew the product was that good, and so so there is really strong feedback from the marketplace on the improvement of product, and it's out there in terms of what we're seeing from a lot of these C stores where they put it out and they have store people in stores and so on give them feedback and test it, and people are actually coming in and starting to ask for the product. And we didn't have that with version 1 or version 2. That's the real testament. I mean, you can always have somebody that tries it and says, wow, it's 1,000 times better. But where I think you're really starting to hit the mark is when people start coming into the store and saying, hey, we got any TAAT? And the store owner says, I don't know what you're talking about. And we're starting to get inquiries. There's I can't mention it because we're under NDA, but there's a major department store group that big box department store group down in Texas that's currently trialing the product, and same thing with them. People have asked for the product, and that's what they're responding to.
That's great. Is there a focus on raising capital right now? There's questions from investors. They're concerned about raising capital at these lower levels. They don't want to see any dilution. Do you think that there's going to be any capital raises at these levels anytime soon, or any plans for that?
Yeah, nobody ever wants dilution, right? And I think sometimes arm's length investors forget that management and people involved in the company are often big shareholders in the company. I don't do this because I need the paycheck. I do it because I believe in the company, I believe in the product and where the company's headed. And same with the contract. I can't disclose the terms, but I can tell you that the contract that we just signed with Michael is very, very, very heavily weighted towards equity. And it can, for a guy of his stature and capabilities, he's coming on for a sizable equity component. So he's driven by seeing the success of the equity. So we're all motivated by seeing the equity higher. And my position on that would be, I never say no, because I've been in that position where I've said no and then, had been forced by whatever it is, market conditions or an opportunity that might come along where I've had to come back and look at it. But, I think that when we have raised capital in this company, if you look at us, you've seen that we've been very responsible about how we've done it. And that's because we are all significant shareholders in the company. And we've reached out to the likes of our Asian partners who have been, very strong supporters of the company. We've made sure that we've done arrangements where, it's not dilutive, significantly dilutive to our shareholders. So what I would say is I can't say never, but I certainly don't have my eyesights on that right now. Our priority at this point in time is to get our equity value back up and get it moving in the right direction. That's our number one priority.
There's a question from Jonas. How well does the integration of Adco work? Has TAAT already been integrated into many new Adco stores?
Yeah, once again, a good question. That was what a lot of it was about last week. Adco was representing our product in the store, but it was really no different than them going in and pitching a pack of Marlboros or something, right? It's in fact, it was more different because it was a higher bar to sell TAAT. They had to go in and introduce it and convince the retailer to carry it. Now that's part of their mandate. That's part of what they're doing. We were meeting with the individual salespeople. They're actually bringing on additional salespeople so that they can give more of their time and energy to introducing TAAT. And they're very proud about it. They're very keen on it. They're not doing something that we're forcing down their throats. They're the ones that were urging us to get down there last week and spend the time with their salespeople and make sure they understood what the sales pitch is and the angle and so on and so forth. So not only working with Adco, and I think I can say this because there's nothing definitive or material here, but we're also continuing to look at other distributors, whether it's in partnership arrangements or whether it's actually an outright purchase. And we see ourselves expanding that network of stores where we have a direct channel as we go. So I don't think, in fact, I know Adco is not going to be the last announcement you see in the not too distant future. There's going to be other accretive acquisitions that are going to give us more distribution capability and the ability to really drive the product in a major way into a big market. I've always said, and I think I picked this up from Setti initially, that if we only did business in Ohio and we're successful at it, we get a couple % of the cigarette market in Ohio, I'm done. Like this company's done. Our shareholders are done. Like that's a major company. That's several $100 million in value and sales and so on. If we just monopolize our opportunity in Ohio. Now we're not limiting our scope to that. Obviously, you've seen where other markets that we're active in, but I just want you to understand that we don't have to be everywhere, and we can do very well by a very focused campaign. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're getting our focus, really trying to understand what makes our product work, what makes retailers successful with our product.
A great answer, thank you. And another question from Dale: can we expect to see heat not burn in stores in the next few months? Is that something you guys are looking into?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're working on that. I wish I was more up to speed on that. I haven't really been focused on that. Our Las Vegas guys would be better. Joe would be a better one to kind of throw that question at. I love the product. Even though I think the TAAT product's better than just about any heat not burn product that I've seen. The fact is, you're always going to have people that are going to want that kind of a product, and I think we need to be there. I think we need to be in that space. So it's important that we get the product and get it launched. When I've been on the management calls, which I participate on weekly, it has come up on the management calls, and I know that the development is proceeding with haste, and we are driving towards having a product ready to go into the marketplace. But again, timing of that introduction would be better thrown at Joe or Setti or even Michael once he comes on, because he'll be much more in touch with the product development guys.
Is there anything that you're doing to increase online sales?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think we're doing enough, and we've been exploring that. Michael's got some really good ideas, I think, on the online sales side of it that we're gonna try. We didn't really make it that a priority in the past 2 years, because we really wanted to get the product out into the marketplace and get the feedback as to what the product is doing and so on. When you sell it online, somebody buys it, and it's that customer, it's hard to develop a relationship and feedback from the customer. So we really wanted to focus first and foremost on the in-store sales. But we recognize that the highest margin business, and technically really in a lot of ways what should be the lowest hanging fruit, is online sales. And so we have met, in fact, I met with some guys here in my office here in the last couple of weeks who specialize in really helping you to, how do you get the word out there? We know the product works, right? It's just, what's the best strategy online to take advantage of that? So I would say, I would grade us a 5 out of 10 on our execution on the online, but I think that's where the opportunity is, because if we can even get that to a 7 or an 8 out of 10, that would be a massive bump in sales and very accretive to the bottom line. So we've got to do that. To whoever asked the question, you've got my commitment that, sitting here as the CFO, that's one of my priorities. I'm driving the guys. Let's focus more on that, because that's, that just goes right to my bottom line.
Well, I know that there's these Amazon Prime guys all over the streets. Would you guys ever get into Amazon?
Possibly. I don't know what really good question. I don't know what Amazon's policy is. Again, Joe, marketing guys would know what the situation is with Amazon. So, and what it would take to get into Amazon. I remember with Wild Hemp, so you can remember the product that Joe originally developed, the pure hemp product that he had developed before he was with TAAT, that they were selling online, I think in some of those kind of, like, whether it was eBay, it might have been eBay, but could have been Amazon, but in some of those, really well, followed distribution channels. So, we got to do that. That just, just makes all the sense in the world. So it's a priority. I've talked to Michael about it. It's a priority for him. I think you'll, with his joining, I think you're going to see a lot more talk and focus on the online sales side of it.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Those are all the questions I have from the audience. Thank you for everyone that's here. Joel, is there anything else you want to leave all the shareholders and investors that are watching with before we say goodbye today?
Yeah, just hang in there. I mean, I know markets are tough right now, and what I can tell you is I'm really excited and pleased about the direction we're headed. I'm excited about Michael's addition. Give him a couple of months to show us what he can do. It's not going to be overnight, but you're going to see him start to take this to a different level. I really believe, and he's highly motivated, as I mentioned to your audience. He's highly motivated to do that. So stick with us, and I think you're going to be really pleased with how your investment turns out over the next couple of years, even if you are down a little bit. I think we all are. We've all bought stock on the way down, and I'm optimistic that over the next 6 months you're going to see a different trajectory. So hang in there. Great.
Thank you so much for your time today. The CFO of TAAT Global Alternatives, symbol in Canada for everyone who's watching, TAAT, in America, TOBAF, also listed in Frankfurt, Germany, under the symbol 2TP. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, please smash the like button, comment down below, share the video, and subscribe. Remember, Rich TV Live is strictly for information and education purposes. Please do your due diligence, do your research before you invest in anything we talk about or discuss here on Rich TV Live. And thank you for joining us today, the CFO of TAAT Global Alternatives, Joel Dumaresq. Thank you for joining us today, Joel.
Thank you so much, Rich. Always great being with you and your audience. We'll talk again soon, I hope.
Always a pleasure. And congratulations to Michael Saxon, the new CEO of TAAT Global Alternatives. Michael, look forward to having you on the show one day. Hopefully you're watching. And for those of you guys that are not watching, if you'd like to learn how to trade, or for those of you that are watching, if you'd like to learn how to trade, you can go to richtv.io, an ecosystem built by investors for investors, where you can learn how to trade undervalued, underappreciated, underexposed opportunities like TAAT Global Alternatives. Thank you for watching, everybody, and have yourselves a great day. Thanks, Joel. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.